Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats are from Popternative, speaking to John, David, and Brannon about the Orville New Horizons premiering on Hulu June 2nd. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Are you okay?
I'm okay, but I'm excited.
We're really excited. We love that. Love that.
So many questions. I guess I showed up to the right room, right?
Yeah. Well, you're more excited than a lot of the reporters, so I like it. It's great.
That's why they slot me in, the energy. David, you know what? One of my favorite things about this show is obviously the genre bending component. It's funny, it's deep, it's got a lot going on. Does that kind of just happen, or those preliminary talks early on to kind of throw a lot of genres in there?
I think that Seth created a show that he wanted to watch, and it's just fortunate that something the rest of us want to watch too. He created these characters. He brought his style of writing and his point of view into the sci-fi universe. And right there from the get-go, you had all those elements that you're talking about right there. The characters, the genre bending. We're in a sci-fi universe, but it's a little different. It's not what we've seen before. It's familiar, but also fresh.
John, I really enjoyed this season, New Horizons. It's one of those things where the comedy's there. There's some laughing moments. Obviously, it's the Orville. It's going to be funny. It gets a little bit more serious and deep in certain kind of storylines and everything. What do you kind of think about that? Does that kind of naturally happen as well? Or was there a plan to kind of change things around for season 3 a little bit and make it a little bit more serious and intense at times?
I don't think there was a plan to do anything new in season 3. I think it's a tone that's been there the whole time. I think, maybe some episodes this year I dig in a little deeper, but I think that's always been there. I think the plan for season 3 was to just make it bigger and better, which, throwing that at a bunch of creatives, we love that. And so everyone stepped up to that. And even the look of it has a slightly darker feel to it. Our lighting's a little different. The ship is a little sharper looking. So everything just has more of a cinematic feel to it.
Oh, absolutely. Brannon, I find it very interesting as well, because obviously exploration, discovery is kind of the focal point of the show. It's the main terms and everything. So you could take this either way you want. What have you discovered specifically about working on the Orville?
The first thing I discovered was how much I missed the style of storytelling, of standalone science fiction allegorical storytelling. I hadn't done it in a while. I wasn't sure if I could still do it. I wasn't sure what it meant, but man, did I miss it. And it just never gets tired. I mean, if anything you can think of, you can do. And it's just really satisfying. I also, I've just learned a great deal. Seth was a friend before we worked together. I've just learned so much from him. I've learned so much from David. The writer's room was really interesting initially because I knew that the drama writers were jealous if any of the comedy writers wrote good drama. And I know you were jealous if we wrote a good joke.
That's what I said about the thing that I discovered about Brannon, which was really upsetting, is he's a really funny writer. That's upsetting because I knew what a great drama writer was, but if you can do comedy, I'm out of work. So I'm really blown. I'm joking, but I'm actually not. And that's been one of the great things about this show is that working in Seth's world that he's created, we're learning things about ourselves as writers that we didn't get to do anywhere else.
Yeah, he brought together an amazing team. He really did, all across the board.
Now, John, maybe you can answer this one as well. I always find that ensemble casts at the surface of things are always going to kind of be an overwhelming thing because there's so many characters and so many storylines. I think this show does an amazing job of kind of fitting in everyone and different storylines and everything. What can you tell me specifically about kind of putting together like the storylines for all of these characters? Because there's a lot of characters in the show, but I feel like we get a lot of everyone in this, especially this season as well.
Well, again, that all comes from the writer's room. But from my end, I mean,
Yep.
first of all, it's challenging because,
Directing.
television is built as two-handers mostly,
Yeah.
and this show is never that, or very, very little of that. We have a very big crew. They play in almost every scene. And then they meet up with a whole bunch of other people and other planets, and they have a lot of people coming in too. So it is a challenge from that way, and it's a challenge on a lot of fronts. Just
Yeah.
the physical shooting of it became a bigger challenge in COVID because now you're dealing with that many people in a room when you shouldn't be, and you should have to stay apart. We have to deal with all of that. But I love that about the show. I love that everyone does get involved, because it's interesting because the adventures they go on, because there are so many and the crew are all so different, you're getting a different perspective on every adventure.
David,
by the different people that are involved.
I agree with that as well. But David, to add to that a little bit too, I always find it interesting because, do you find like from your perspective, if someone says, a space show, 18 main characters and everything, and then they all have different sides. I mean, I feel like just naturally might be challenging. What do you think about those kind of tasks, trying to fit everyone in there?
No, we pay attention.
Yeah.
Like that is important for us, is like, we want to make sure that we love our cast. Everybody is so good that you want to make sure that they feel that they're not just showing up and sitting in the background. Yeah. That there's, even if it's a show isn't about them, if they're in it, they've got something to do. You want to watch these actors work. And so we are always putting our minds to making sure that our characters that the audience loves, that we love, are getting their due in these episodes. So no, that's part of the work. It absolutely is. But it doesn't get in our way. Yeah. By thinking about it that way, that leads us down interesting story paths and matching up characters who you didn't really match up before, and suddenly you're in a story or a season-long story that that came out of, what if this person did this with this person, and you suddenly have like, oh wow, that's exciting. So that's the other thing too, is that these characters live, and we get to use that.
Brannon, do you want to add to that before we wrap up as well? Because I find that very interesting.
It was part of the design of the show. The DNA of the show from the beginning for Seth was, this isn't the Ed and Kelly Mad About You in Space. This is an allegorical show. A different character will be emphasized every week. You never know what you're going to tune into. Episodes are so wildly different at times. And that was always part of the design.
Absolutely.
As David says, his strength.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This was great. David, sorry if I scared you in the beginning.
No, PD, I'm sorry I gave you a hard time. I thought you were hilarious.
June
I thought you were hilarious.
Orville New Horizons is going to be on Hulu. Thank you all for your time. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.